I guess the new intro is not working, so we're live anyway, boys.
Let's do it.
I guess
Damn it, boy.
new year, new us. As far as the Black Friday deals go for the restream and
Showing the rust.
showing the rust.
1,000%.
That's where we're at. Restream just gave me an email that says contact us. So I just hope we're live for everyone out there listening at the moment. But yeah, boys, it's good to be back. You know, Thanksgiving break has gone and come through. Ron, you second year with RJ at Thanksgiving. How'd it go?
It went well, bro. He was awake this year. So
did he make it to see the Cowboys
good.
This time? Did he get to see his team win on Thanksgiving?
He knocked out during halftime.
Ah, okay.
So it was cool. Cowboys got the dub against the Chiefs. I love that. You know, we always take fucking L's recently. Get blown out by the Bills that year. Then I think we lost to the Lions. So it was great Thanksgiving. Great Thanksgiving.
Good. Roland, what about you? What'd you do for Thanksgiving?
Watched some football, ate too much food or not enough. Made sure to have enough for the next couple of days after Thanksgiving as usual. But yeah, no, like Ron said, it was a good Thanksgiving with the Cowboys getting that victory. So can't ask for much more.
Absolutely. Ben, what's the rule on leftovers? Like, how many days can Thanksgiving leftovers really go? Is it the week rule, or it's like got to be 3 or 4 max and you're pushing it? Like,
you're asking the wrong guy, bro. The only leftovers I hate are the pies. I'm not too big on turkey and Thanksgiving in general, but pie is good for at least a week.
I think so.
But yeah, we went out. We celebrated here in New Braunfels, and then we went to the Valley on Friday. So in Chingas all weekend,
Yeah, so you needed a break from Thanksgiving break pretty much because you were running 24/7. That seems to be the case.
Monday was tough for sure.
Yeah, I smoked the turkey. It went well. Majority of the family got together. We're missing a few, but I mean, that feels like that's the refresh I need every year at least, just to be with my family for a little break. And then to watch the whole Cowboys game together, just yelling in the living room together, getting excited over it. What more can you ask for, at least, for Thanksgiving? So all's well for me. Let's get into some news overnight here. Roland, I want to kick it straight to you for this one, Roland.
I could ask that we say happy birthday to you because I know your birthday was around Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
It was Black Friday, Black Friday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. I appreciate the birthday wishes y'all sent me too.
We have to come see you here because we didn't see you at Marky's.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're here now. Roland, I want to kick this one to you, man, because, you've always had an opportunity with Chris Paul here. And last night, they sent him home, Roland. They sent him packing. They severed ties. And it's a little frustrating to know that the city that the side that he made famous, the Lob City, that team said, hey, you know what? You're kind of, I would say kind of historical here, but you know what? It's time to go home, take your ball and get your ass home. What do you think about that, Roland?
I can't be too surprised. It's the Clippers, even though, they've been under new management and recently, they've been one of the more respectable franchises really since, Steve Ballmer took over. And you can say really since, the Lob City, because before Lob City, who are we talking about on the Clippers? We're talking about Chris Olowokandi, talking about Corey Maggette, talking about Darius Miles. We're talking about Baron Davis. Yeah, we're talking about all those guys. But, Chris Paul came over, along, of course, with Blake Griffin, number one pick at the time, legitimized the franchise, probably the franchise's first and only Hall of Famer once he makes it into the Hall. Going to be considered a top 5, top 7 point guard of all time, depending on your list. But modern day point guard, easily top 3, of the generation. And even if you just break it down to true traditional point guard for a general. Unfortunate that this is a way that, his run with the Clippers is ending. He announced his retirement tour back in November, kind of in the middle of the season. After the season got off to a bad start. The Clippers season has really been cursed from the beginning with the whole aspiration thing. We haven't really been on the air to talk about it a lot with the drama that the owner finds himself enthralled in, trying to skirt the cap and pay Kawhi Leonard to, sit on the bench and, not play basketball, which he's been doing for the past couple of years of his career. But just sad for the Clippers to do this to Chris Paul, even though, Lou Williams, Ben shared a post earlier in one of our groups today, did a deep dive and kind of explained the behind the scenes. Chris Paul was pretty critical of the coaching staff. And when you're one of the last guys off the bench, at this stage in your career, probably not going to want to hear that. But Still kind of disappointing that they would do this to a first ballot Hall of Famer, their best player in their franchise's history, arguably.
Yeah.
Him or Blake Griffin. Just pretty sad that they do this, but not too surprising considering who it's coming from. It's the Clippers. They're going to be a poverty franchise, second-rate franchise for years to come. That's all we've known them as. They've been legit a little while. These past couple of years, Uno has been carrying the torch for them, but that's coming to an end with the way that this roster has been constructed. But Chris Paul's not the one who put the roster together. But I digress. It's just a sad way for this to end for him. Hopefully he gets a chance to win a ring somewhere. Maybe goes to one of his previous stops like Oklahoma City or somewhere else.
Or
just not San Antonio.
Yeah, new money can't save every franchise, Ben. So what do you make of this, Ben? Did they do this guy wrong? I mean, he really sold some tickets back in the day for the Clippers organization.
For sure, but it's just not a team that needs any more vets on the bench. They don't need any vets teaching the young guys. It's a team full of vets, and we know how critical Chris Paul can be. I mean, he's had falling outs for several teams, and teammates. We know him and Uno already had one bad breakup in Houston.
Yeah.
He's very critical, and at this point, he's not contributing much. So when you're contributing and you're still, diming it up as that point guard, all right, you can be critical. But when you're not contributing at all and you're just being critical, and even talking about, the GM and how the roster was constructed, talking about Ty Lue, I could see Ty Lue feeling a little threatened. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Ty Lue wasn't on speaking terms for him for, a little over a month. Wouldn't even take a meeting with him. They ran him off at 3 a.m. in the night. They made him fly out on the Atlanta
Probably finished
trip.
one of his poker games, and
Yeah, and it wasn't even Ty Lue that said, you're getting cut. They flew. I think it was the GM went out there and relieved him of his duties in Atlanta. Say, here's a flight. Go back home. Let's see you clear waivers, and let's see if anybody will take you on. Like Roland said, hopefully OKC, Houston has enough veterans already, so
you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's nasty because it was his farewell tour.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Yeah,
even if you don't like the guy, like he's given his all to the game. You have let him have his little send off. It's not like he's getting big minutes or anything, but
and the team is already in the dumps
by a team that's going to end up retiring his jersey and hanging it from that Intuit Dome. Might be the first jersey retired if they. Now they'll probably do Blake just because of this whole thing, but
they'll have to do them together to kind of ease the pain here. I don't think you can just do one and not the other. Now you got to do them both.
It's just like how is that going to be? You know what I mean? Does he show up to his own jersey retirement?
If I'm him, I don't let them raise a jersey. I keep that.
It's just a gotcha slap in the face, bro, for a guy that has a huge ego.
That's hard, that's hard, Roland, because you want your jersey raised, but you're right. Like, they did him so wrong. You kind of tell them, like, F off, man.
And I get it, right? Like, the Clippers, their season is in the dumps. They don't even own their pick to be able to, say,
They're
hey, this season's
Oklahoma richer, man.
Yeah, exactly. Oklahoma City owns their pick for this next year, so they potentially can have, Cameron Boozer on their team or something like that. Anyways, it's dirty because, the Clippers, yes, they're a team that they just need a clean house, right? But at 3 a.m. to the guy that's on his farewell tour, like that's literally the first move that you make to start cleaning houses. That's nasty.
That'll let you know what they thought of him, really.
Like, why not Bradley Beal? He doesn't have his no trade clause to hold on to. Like, just get rid of Bradley Beal. Come on.
Ron, where are you on this situation here with CP3? Did you make a lot of the news this morning and kind of have a laugh here? I know you're laughing here in the comments. So
yeah, I mean, what did he really do for that franchise? I mean, that's kind of my thing.
Tickets, man. Lob City was fun.
You teased them. Yeah, Lob City was fun. But what has he done in his career? Not win shit. Like, I mean, I get the way that they did it was dirty, like on a road trip. Like, hey, at least let him travel back home with the team, right? But I mean, and the clip that Ben sent where Lou Wills and Roland mentioned it, like, he's an employee. And if you go to your bosses and talk shit about the franchise that they're running and saying that you should probably do this and you should probably do that, and you can kind of hear him like through his career, we've seen moments where he's kind of had that chip on his shoulder where maybe he feels he's better than other players or he knows more than everybody else or that coach on the court. Like, you can see him going in there and talking some smack and the GM or the owner saying, you know what, bro, at the end of the day, we're the owners, we're your boss, deuces. You're not doing much for us. Ben said he's coming off the bench. So he's a veteran. Like, what did he have going in his favor to not let that happen? I mean, he's not putting up minutes. He's not getting you dubs. He's not putting fans in the seats anymore.
He still cares about the franchise, though.
Oh.
Yeah,
he wants to see them win.
Again, for me, it's just like the Clippers. They were like the definition of what you call a poverty franchise before Chris Paul got there. They maybe had a couple of seasons where they shot up and they made the playoffs, you know, miraculously in the West. But I mean, but the seasons before he got there in 2011, I'm looking at it right now: 23-59, 19-63, 29-53, 32-50. He gets there 40-26, 56-26, 57-25, 56-20. I mean, come on, he is the franchise. Let's not do him dirty like that.
I agree, Roland. I think they've done him dirty. They should at least let him, you know, finish out the rest of the year and say, hey, CP3, we like the input. We're just not going to follow. We're going in a different direction. We want you to be part of the team because we want you to hit every city and do your wave. I mean, that's it.
And just one last thing on this before, you know, we let this go, because it is Chris Paul, and you're right. I do have a special affinity for the point guard, but Eddie brings it up. The Lakers, that's kind of, you know, his career, like the defining moment to me is he had the opportunity to play with Kobe Bryant. You know, they created a big three there, potentially in LA, and then, you know, David Stern comes in and, you know, had control of the Hornets at the time and said, nope, I'm not going to do this. And then, you know, he ends up going to the Clippers and, you know, what have you. But Chris Paul, not going to get to win a ring, unfortunately, unless, you know, he ends up with OKC. He did have that one run with James Harden when his hamstring went out. But just a sad career.
He's so bad. He's so bad. Even if he goes to OKC, though, they won't win it just because he's on the team.
The curse, they're gonna have Joey Crawford ref all 7 games.
But let's just be clear. He's bad now, but he wasn't bad always.
That's what I was gonna say. Like when you look at that roster when he was winning games with the Clippers, like it's JJ Redick who's not getting his own shots, right? He's running off shit, and Chris Paul's finding him. DeAndre Jordan doesn't put the ball on the floor, no back to the basket game. Relies on Chris Paul, made his career off Chris Paul. Blake Griffin, similar. He had a little bit of a bag, but not really, and just relied on the alley-oops and all that shit. So he literally he got a lot of guys paid. He was kind of the engine of that Clippers team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about results, though, bro. You could say
only one team wins a championship every year. It's hard. It's hard.
We haven't even talked about it, and I'll leave on this. He also made a reputation from the last, you know, portion of his career when he was a real contributor of going from place to place and immediately improving their win percentage. You can go back and look at it. You know, he goes to OKC. He's with the young SGA. They turn them into, you know, competitive, you know, 8 seed type of guys. So, I mean, he did it in a couple of spots. You know, the Spurs improved their winning percentage with him, but it's just, you know, he's a winner. It didn't win the championship, but he knows how to play winning basketball. It's just hard to, you know, win when you're 6 foot.
Did he ever get to the finals?
No.
I mean, come on, guys.
No, he did with the Suns. Well, actually, that's the other thing. He was up 2-0.
How many fucking teams has this guy been on?
He was up, but that's another example of him going to another team and them instantly, you know, becoming, you know, legitimate. He was a legitimizer for a while.
You don't play this many years in the NBA and not be good. Let's just.
And you know, they were up 2-0 on the Bucks, and they ended up losing 4-2. So you know that's another thing right there.
Yeah. All right.
That was sad.
Let's get over to football. We'll talk about basketball maybe in a few weeks once it gets a little more serious. So early on the season, NBA Cup is going on.
Talk about the Rockets, so you know we'll have some NBA.
We'll have some of that later on. But let's talk about Thursday night's prime game. Chances to the playoffs. Here it is, based on head-to-head result. Current chance for the Cowboys only at 18%, 42% for the Lions. With a win here, though, the Cowboys can shoot up to 36%. With a loss, their chances are almost all the way out at 8%. The Lions also need a win. With the win, they're at 55%. With the loss, they're at 22%. Ron, I'm going to kick it to you as a Cowboy fan. You see it. You see the eye test. They're getting hot at the right time. Can they run the table? Or is it the November break where we always get our hopes up? We think they're going to do it, and then they just stab us right there in that little heart of ours. What happens, Ron, on Thursday night?
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
Right back
That's
in,
what
buddy.
it is with the fucking Cowboys, man. As far as the game goes itself, I think that you have to take them at +3 as far as the betting lines go. As far as what it means for the season, it means everything. You know, you're coming off wins against Philly, against KC, against the Raiders, which on the road, and this is the huge thing for me, is that it's on the road. right? They've won 2 games on the road this year. They were against the Raiders and they were against the Jets. The other games that they've lost. So this is a big step for them to kind of, like you said, it's either, you got to put up or shut up. And there's nothing more it is than that. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but if they win, the confidence will be higher than it's ever been. You're gonna start thinking like maybe Jerry was actually smart in these trades, letting go of Micah. Like, oh my god,
they're looking at Quinn Williams in the preseason.
Yeah.
Like all the pieces are falling together. Like George Pickens is like a fucking god over here with us and all this shit. So I mean, how can you not, right? How can you not drink the juice if they go to Ford Field and beat the Lions? I will say they have a chance because there might not be no Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're only going to have J-Mo and Tesla or Tesla,
Gibbs supposed to play a different spot.
There's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, they're banged up in the secondary. If the Cowboys offense goes and puts up 30 points like they have been, they'll win the game. The offensive line, I don't think they're going to have Guyton. So I actually lean on an under in this game. And that's pretty much
I don't think that's created like that crazy loss. I think the tackles are kind of weak for the Cowboys anyway. So Guyton's not like the worst loss that we can have. So I'm not too mad. Roland, though, I want to talk about this game with you. If we win this game, let me tell you the rest of the schedule for the Cowboys. Yeah, it's Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, Giants. All 4 of those games, you think Cowboys are probably going to be favored in.
For sure.
This is a big-time game that they absolutely need. And not only that, we're only 2 games away from the Eagles, who kind of seem to be on a lull. So outright winning NFC East is not completely out of the possibility either here.
Yeah, so no, I mean, we can definitely snake the Eagles if they continue, in their little lull as you described. It's just been a crazy year. You look at, the current, percentage that the Cowboys have to make the playoffs, 18%. That's just because how stacked the NFC has been. You look at all the records there, not going to go through all of them, but the number 1 seed right now is the Chicago Bears at 9-3, right? And then you can just go down the list from there. There's a lot of good records. The Cowboys' probably best chance is to catch the Eagles. But I will say, just to, answer the question and go along with what's going on here with the win percentage. If they win this, you might as well put with the win at 100% because they will run the table if they win this game. The Cowboys, their offense, I'm fully bought in on the offense. Yes. I think they have a solid run game. It's a B+ run game, I'd say, with Javonte. He doesn't necessarily have that juice, but Malik Davis came in last game, popped off a big run.
43 yards.
He's kind of iced Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue didn't really get going at all this year. Too busy worried about his shoes. But anyways, I like the run game, the pass game. CD, Pickens, Ferguson, Turpin to switch things up. As long as the Cowboys, Florida too. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody eats on that offense.
As long as the Cowboys don't get too cute, there's times where they put Turpin in the backfield. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. There's one time he just tripped up and fumbled on his own. But other than that, the Cowboys, their offense is humming. The defense is somewhat stabilized. They got Overshown back a couple weeks ago. Beland came back and has been, a little bit better. He's been playing injured most of the year, missed a couple games earlier in the year, came back a little early, but he's looked okay. Quinn Williams has been a big addition. I think he's starting to play well. He's already outpaced his numbers with what he was doing with the Jets, with the Cowboys. So definitely kind of like what he's brought to the team. Their aspirations beyond making the playoffs, I'm not so sure because I wouldn't put them in the same threshold as I'm looking at the Rams. I think the Rams are a little bit too stacked for the Cowboys right now. I'd probably put the Seahawks, even though they have Darnold, and Darnold can ice a game, depending on the kind of how the game breaks. And then, there's the 49ers and Packers, who I think are just a tad above the Cowboys. But this is
what about the Bears, though? What if we have to replay the Bears? What happens in that situation? Do you really believe in the Bears at this point?
It's hard for me to say that I'm all the way in on the Bears just because of their quarterback. I'm not fully bought in on Caleb Williams, although I will say he's made a little bit more plays this year. He seems a little bit more under control. The offensive line is ferocious when you talk about, them getting their run game going with Swift and Monongai. I think they both, cleared 100 yards last game, both scored a touchdown.
They both had between the both of them 40 carries. It was crazy.
Yeah, so the run game is their strength. If they're able to get it going with Caleb Williams, get O'Dunes back going like he was at the beginning of the year. I know there's some fantasy owners that need that. I think the Bears could be legit. It's just Ben Johnson is a great coach. He's going to have them, game plan ready to go. no matter who they're playing. But if the Cowboys were to match up against them again, I'd probably make the Bears, if they're at home, probably 3-point favorites, 3.5-point favorites maybe, but it'd be a close game. Are you really going to trust Caleb Williams in the playoffs? But I don't know. Then you're asking to trust the Cowboys in the playoffs, and we know what goes on there. But I'm going to toss it to Ben because I've been talking a little too much here. But, yeah, I like the Cowboys' chances that they beat the Lions, and this is a good a chance of any to take out the Lions without ASB, as Ron was saying earlier. So.
All right, Ben, are you going to bring us down to size here, or are we kind of drinking the right juice here?
No, I mean, this is every year. Every year you all go through this shit, and we'll come back next week, hopefully, and you all will slander Dak like every other year. It happens. It's a yearly tradition. I mean, I don't even think mathematically, and I'm just saying, I don't think that running the table automatically even gets them in. I think still going to need a little bit of help. So they ain't getting to no playoffs. I don't think so. I think that tie with the Packers, had that just been a win, then you're really in business. But yeah, dude, I mean, they definitely are humming. I will say that the defense getting some pieces back, they definitely do look better. Still think it's going to be a high-scoring game in the Dome. A whole lot of JMO this week, hopefully, just like last week.
Some Gibbs.
Yeah, and some Gibbs, but I expect the shootout. I expect, the Cowboys to eat, and I do think that it's a winnable game for them. Full desperation mode, but I mean, the same thing could be said about the Lions, right?
It's like they're two teams, same position. They both desperately need this win.
Right, but the Lions have like a win or two more than the Cowboys, and that's why it's kind of hard to see the Cowboys making the playoffs. Because
the Lions at 7-5, Cowboys 6-5-1.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, the half game.
Yeah.
Because of the tie. So, I mean, it's just tough. Like, they're going to need a lot of help, but full desperation mode game for the Lions. They have been very vulnerable, though. Like, we have seen the offense kind of struggle at times, especially without Amon-Ra. You saw some drops last week, some pretty big drops. They could have won the game, but they did have some big drops, and it's going to be a good game. I'm going over to a Cowboys fan's house tomorrow night. I'm going to enjoy this one.
That's not a massive loss, but I guess you could say massive, but in years past, his production has been greater than it has this year, but no Sam Laporta either. Yep. So if you're Jared Goff, not really a mobile quarterback, and you have your security blanket there on Laporta, he's not going to be there. I think their backup tight end is also banged up.
Brock
so you're
Wright's
looking
out.
down. Yeah, bro, there you go, Brock Wright. So you're fucking Jared Goff, and you're looking down the field, and if JMO isn't open on a D ball, it's like, what do you got? Because you're not going to run it. You got to just dump it off to Gibbs in the flat. So Gibbs owners should be happy here. And I want to talk about Dak real quick because Ben mentioned Dak. I still got not a lot of love for Dak, Ben, because he hasn't proven anything to me in games where it matters. So this is not just a big game for the Cowboys, but it's a big game for him. What did he do first fucking drive against the Chiefs? Fucking pick. Luckily we came back and we won the game, but it's games like these that are going to have Dak haters saying, oh, shit, he showed up on the road at Detroit in early December and kept his team on track. If it's a Dak fumble, loses the ball off his knee, or a pick six, from his own 10 or 15, it's like, dude, fuck you for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? So it's a huge game for Dak, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys. I will say big shout out to Schottenheimer. I wasn't the biggest.
Good call out. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, man. I wasn't the biggest fan. Whatever Eberflus is doing, I don't know what the fuck he changed. Maybe it was just the players that they got. But the defense is
the players
solid. Yeah.
When you have better personnel, you can make better coaching decisions.
Yeah. Just one last thing on the NFC playoff picture. The Bears and Packers, they still have to play each other 2 times before the end of the season. The Rams got to play the Lions and the Seahawks before the end of the year. So I mean, there's going to be some attrition there between those teams. And if the Cowboys can just continue winning, doing what they got to do, they might find themselves in playoff positioning. So I mean, we'll see.
Philly at 8-4. I mean, you might not need a total collapse, but if you're the Cowboys and you went out, Philly loses a couple games. I know we're good. I think we're 3-1 in the division. Phillies are 2-1. It could be one of those scenarios where you're playing Philly and the winner wins the division.
Yeah, Philly season
something crazy like that. But
Philly season can go one of two ways. It can either tank from this point, I think, and they end up just kind of flatlining, or they kind of rally together, because kind of the same thing happened to them last year, and they ended up shooting up and going out and winning the Super Bowl. They found themselves in a little lull, and
they're in a down tick right now, but they have the personnel that can get themselves out of it if they really
they have the personnel. And it's just like the team that we're going to talk about here in the next slide. They've just been competing for years.
Realistically, they're too good of a team to to lose out, but you never know.
And they got a decent enough coach to get him some wins. But let's get over to a guy who's probably never missed the playoffs in his NFL career. Roland, I don't think he has, right?
Not since he's been a starter.
Mahomes here, 6-6 sitting right now, and they absolutely need to run the table, Ben. And I will go to you first, because one of those teams they'll be facing will be Houston on Sunday night, I believe. And then it's the Chargers, winnable, Tennessee, winnable, Denver, another one where Denver's playing hot. They're getting their wins. And then it's the Raiders. So 2 questionable games out of the 6, or what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left, Ben. What happens Sunday night in Houston?
Yeah, it's not. It's actually in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so Kansas City's 3-point favorites. I mean, I think that their O-line isn't as good as it usually is, and their juice has really run out. They give you not much with the running game unless they're down at the goal line and Kareem Hunt's, powering himself in for a touchdown. But it's been a lot of hero ball. The shit with Rashee Rice is a lot of behind the line of scrimmage. Let him make some play out with some yak or some quicker passes. And I think the Texans defense, the personnel can just really get on him. It's a big game for how close they are record-wise. With the Chiefs losing last week, the Texans have one more win than them, so it's a big for tiebreaker as well. They might be 2 teams that end up with the same record, both possibly in wildcard spots, and then that tiebreaker is going to be the head-to-head. So big game. Texans don't have a good history going into Arrowhead. They definitely don't. But, man, the defense, I've said it all preseason that was the one thing that Texans fans could hang their hat on was, the best defense in the NFL, and it's definitely showed out. It's been that way. They're really aggressive. The not allowing 20 points at home, this season that's crazy. So I think that if Stroud can just not turn the ball over, he had 1 pick last game, no touchdowns, and they still won the game, against the Colts in Indy. Pretty
That's
crazy.
The kind of defense you have, though.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So
1 game out of the AFC South for y'all. So this also, a lot of implications for y'all to win this game too. Y'all need almost just as much.
And the Colts, and right after this, the Texans got the Colts. I know this is a Chiefs segment, but the Texans got the Colts right after this. And then the Colts have the Jags twice still to end the season. So the AFC South really is wide open based on, remaining schedule.
I think Eddie was asking Ben a direct question, and I think he's waiting for the response.
He's asking, do you think the Texans can win it all?
I give them like a 20% chance to possibly win it all just because the defense is that good, but
it's very good. What do y'all need?
The offense is nowhere near Super Bowl winning team.
Well, realistically, with that defense, what do y'all need? 3 touchdowns to win most games?
I think, 17, 20 points. I mean, usually I think there's been 2 teams scoring over 20 points all season. So realistically, I mean, you get to 20, you're going to win the game.
Yeah.
Why don't they produce more? I mean, you have Nico Collins. Schultz is a solid tight end. Kirk is, all right. But
for them still.
It's still, you think that's what it is? I mean, they lost, who did they?
The anchor, their left tackle, Laramie Tunsil went, and since then, he
running back situation. I mean, Nick Chubb's Marks has been somewhat of a surprise there. I mean, why aren't they, beating teams by more? I guess is my question, but
it's the offense.
As long as they're getting dubs,
Yeah. Roland, look at this team here. Houston, Chargers, Tennessee, Denver, and Las Vegas Raiders, who are already eliminated out of the playoffs. Can they realistically run the table here? There's some injuries on the offense, though, on the offensive line.
Offensive line's injured, I mean, they can. It's the Chiefs, right? Wouldn't put anything past them, but would I put my money on it? No.
Gotcha.
This game against the Texans, if it were in Houston, I would like the Texans probably to win the game. I think the defense would be able to control it, but since it's going to be outside, in KC, probably be pretty cold. It's going to be at night, prime time. I see this being like a 17-13 kind of, Kansas City victory, and, they'll eke this one away. But, the Chargers, that's not a guarantee. Tennessee, they should win that game. Denver's already beaten them once, and then you got Vegas here. I think we might be looking at the first year that Patrick Mahomes doesn't make the playoffs. They're plus odds to make the playoffs right now. Vegas has finally shifted on them at 6-6. They have like a 2% chance. I think I was looking at right now in terms of implied odds of winning the division. I think that's pretty much past them. So it's wild card or bust at this point. I don't see Denver tanking and losing the division. And I think the Chargers are outpacing them right now too. So I don't know. I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. They just haven't had it. The offensive line, like Ben said, they're injured. They haven't had the juice. They got a great game out of Kareem Hunt 2 weeks ago to get a victory. Like they're relying on that type of stuff to get victories. Kelsey's still having good games here and there. Rice is, a monster, but haven't gotten much production outside of that. They're not able to connect on any deep balls to Worthy, or Thornton's the one running the deep balls now, which, has me frustrated. But it just hasn't been a good year for the Chiefs. The defense is still respectable, but other teams have passed them by, and they got to kind of go into the off season this year and kind of retool. But they're still fighting.
You got Patty rushing, having a rush now for first downs and shit, which he really wouldn't do before, rushing for
unless he needed
12,
to.
13 yards.
Refs throwing shingles of flags against them now.
Yeah, the refs aren't even on their side anymore.
Those one possession games that used to go their way are not going their way.
Yeah.
The two games to look at, Ron, here, Houston and Denver. Denver, the last 4 games, they haven't had a win by more than 3 points. It's been 2 points, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. Do you think Denver could potentially kind of, find that middle where they start lolling off here, and maybe they get through Houston, all of a sudden they got the momentum?
Yeah, I think Denver's got a potential because, like the Texans, they have a great defense. If your offense is playing like shit or not great, or putting up those 13, 14 points a game, but your defense is holding the other team to, field goals, then you always have an opportunity with a defense like that, with a coach like, Peyton. And Nick's didn't take that step that we thought he was going to take this year, coming off how he did last year. But he's still playing decent enough, not having too many turnovers, not, turning the ball over. So I think they're just like that solid team, who can, mentioning winning close games. They've been doing that this year. I think they're coming back a lot in the fourth quarter. They have the most wins, comeback wins. So I think Denver can do it. If you guys want to touch fantasy real quick, Louis is asking for some options. I said Dort. He wants to know what Ben thinks. He needs more opinions. He wants
Which
to
Louis?
Luis Benya.
Oh, Luis. That's not Louis. That's Luis.
We'll do one fantasy question, because I do want to get the show going here. He's asking Tesla, Burden the third, Algier, Dortch, or he needs a flex.
I would go Tesla against the Cowboys.
I said Dortch if Marvin Harrison doesn't play.
Yeah, I'd probably go Tesla. Those are not very good options. Hoping those are because of bye weeks in week 14. But yeah, wouldn't be openly looking at those.
All right, let's close it out here. Let's get to the fun part of the show, the college football talk. Roland, it was rivalry.
That's why you were rushing us, right?
No, I have other things to do, so I want to get the show. I want to get the show closed out as soon as we can.
It's the weeknight.
Yeah, weeknight.
Sorry for being a burden.
So here we go. We got college football, and it was rivalry week, but everyone knew what dominated the week was the storyline about Lane Kiffin and the head coaching job, if he would vacate the Ole Miss coaching job. And there were so many rumors around it. At one point, one of the rumors was that he was holding out so long because he was waiting to see if Auburn would come through over Alabama, and maybe DeBoer leaves to Penn State and he would kind of slide into Tuscaloosa, be back in Titletown. That didn't end up happening, but it was just mess after mess, as you would expect with the Lane Kiffin exit. I mean, that's 5 messy exits in a row here. So he ends up at LSU. How big of a hire is this? Is this a knockout hire for LSU, Roland? Or is this going to be another breakup in 5-6 years that's just messy as well, because that's kind of Lane Kiffin's history. What happens in 5 to 6 years?
Hey, as long as they get a national championship in one of those 5 to 6 years, or maybe 2, it'll be worth it. It's all about what do you get out of it, right? And that's kind of, it's a two-way street. Lane Kiffin's getting a 7-year, $91 million contract. He's going to get paid out some bonuses from Ole Miss or from LSU for his Ole Miss contract. I don't know. He's getting the bag here.
If Ole Miss wins the national title, he gets a bonus from LSU. How crazy is that?
Yeah, so I don't know that will necessarily happen, but I think it's a good hire. As good a hire as you can make right now if you're LSU. They're a team that's kind of just a diamond right now in terms of like a franchise or a college franchise. One of the most valuable there is. They have NIL money for days. Kiffin's going to be able to get players that he wasn't able to get at Ole Miss. And that's crazy because I'm sure Ole Miss has some money, but you can't compete with LSU. It's just a different story, right? Yeah. I was just reading about how much money in the past decade they've just spent on buyouts alone. Yep. When you talk about how much they paid guys to leave when things have gone sour. Will things, end up bad with Kiffin in 5 to 6 years? Maybe, probably. That's just how college football is nowadays. And, Kiffin's one that is for the dramatic, so I could see it going south in a couple of years. But for right now, in the next couple of years, I think he's going to turn LSU back into a flagship program. They're going to be competing. LSU or Louisiana is one of the better recruiting hotbeds in America. He's going to be able to keep guys in state that were previously going out of state to other SEC schools, and LSU is going to be a player again. They haven't been out of the spotlight necessarily for too long, but they've been down since Burrow has left.
They're going to become a main event player, is what you're saying.
For sure, yeah. So Kiffin and LSU, a good match. I know you said he was waiting for Alabama, and if that job would have opened up, I don't know. They would have fired DeBoer if they lose that game, but
no, they would say that DeBoer was going to move to Penn State because he would have had that third loss, and it just the pressure was on. It wasn't necessarily the firing was going to happen.
Yeah, I could see him making that move to Alabama at some point in his career to maybe follow Nick Saban in his footsteps, and which he might be doing here too. Saban was a former LSU coach, but yeah, good hire.
Ben, Nate Kiffin, he keeps saying over the weekend, this is the premier head coaching job in the country. Do you believe that? Is LSU the number one coaching job in the country? Is this the best destination to be at if you're a head coach?
I don't understand why. I think it's a shithole down there in Louisiana. Personally, I don't like going down there.
New Orleans is a lot different than Baton Rouge.
I mean, regardless, bro, it's humid as hell. It's nasty weather. I thought Florida was more premier than LSU, honestly.
They don't have the money that LSU has. They don't have the money. It's a complete different. You're talking about like a $10 million difference in endowment every year.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought that Florida was more pristine than LSU. I didn't know that LSU was this. I mean, I knew Georgia, I knew Alabama, Texas, but I honestly thought that Florida was.
LSU is one of the top 5 valuable programs in
LSU's football. Maybe the third best in my eyes SEC program, probably.
But how do you? But in what comparison? What do you overall ever right now? The last decade?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so let's just talk about right now. You would talk about so how much money you can get paid as a coach. What recruiting kids you're going to have access to. The Southeast Conference is a hotbed for recruits. LSU is going to have access to recruits that Ole Miss would not have. And not only that, it's the only thing going in Louisiana. They don't have a lot of pro teams. So you're going to get a lot of roster money. You have a bigger budget to pull in kids.
The football program brought in $1 billion this past year. Just to put that in perspective, $1 billion.
But now with the NIL and all that shit, it's shit that Saban was talking about, right? It's a lot more diluted now. You're gonna have players taking money to not go to schools. I know now LSU can get those guys, but is it gonna make that much of a difference? I mean, the SEC stacked either way. Does Lane Kiffin here automatically make a difference? Are they in the championship next year?
No,
is he that?
I don't think it's that fast. Because even with Ole Miss, it took 6 years before he got himself.
Right, but you're saying how much more of a hotbed this is than Ole Miss.
It is, but tell me a coach that turned it around in 1 year.
It just comes down to money. Simply put, you're asking the question, it just comes down to money. There's not a lot of teams that have the money that LSU has to throw out guys. They're going to have a $40 million budget for their team. Not many other teams have that. Maybe 5 or 6 other teams have that kind of budget. You give that to a guy like Lane Kiffin, who's an offensive mind that everybody knows that he is. He's a good recruiter. it's a match made in heaven. It's just that simple. Ole Miss doesn't have the tools to play with LSU when it really comes down to it.
Way different than
and when you get a guy who understands the area, a guy who's been there, recruited the area, not an outsider like Brian Kelly, you're mixing oil and got whatever the saying is. You're just creating
oil
fire.
Yeah. No, 100%, Roll. I'm with you on this. I think this is a top 5 job in America. I don't think it's one like Lane Kiffin keeps saying. But I mean, they don't have a lot as far as like pro sports. They have the Saints, and I don't think there is a baseball team in LSU. So even the governor gets involved. Like this is like big to them. The program of LSU football is super big for the whole state. And I'm sure Kiffin's ready to start blaring, Boosie Badass through the speakers on Saturday nights in Death Valley and get the crowd going and getting everyone pumped up. So congrats to him. Unfortunately for Ole Miss, they are left with Pete Golding. I don't think that's going to be a good fit. So win for him there too.
If you don't, just real quick, what did he do at Ole Miss the 5 years he was there? And that's not a knock on him. I honestly don't know what he did. Like, did he change the program around?
He took him to relevancy. He put him in. He got recruits that Ole Miss didn't have access to before, and now they're going to have a run in the playoffs here.
Did they ever win? Did they ever win anything? Or
this would probably be their best chance at winning this year. That's why he wanted to stay coaching them, because he has the quarterback that can play. They're within a touchdown from beating Georgia, so they can compete with the best right now. Ole Miss, with the way that the roster is currently assembled, and he did that roster through the transfer portal completely because he didn't have access to recruits as freshmen. That's the Lane Kiffin effect that he's having to, Ole Miss doesn't get these guys. I'm going to have to recruit through the portal so he can succeed in more than one way. When you're at LSU, you get those kids from the freshman year. You get them committed to your team. That's not happening.
That's another good point. And then just put in perspective too, Ron, you asked a question. I got the answer. Yeah. Since from 2006 to 2019, before Lane Kiffin got there, they had one 10-win season. Lane Kiffin's been there since 2020. They have 4 10-win seasons and an 11-win season this year. So
it's hard to get in the SEC.
So 4 out of 5, pretty much.
Yeah.
Damn, and then to just build all that shit up and bounce. Like, I mean, I guess it's your dream job, right? Like, you got to take it, but
cap there. Like, this is where he's at is the highest he can get. He already touched the ceiling there. Now he's going to go and try to make it to a program that they actually win championships. So
yeah.
That's what
he's not gonna go to Colorado like Dion and be a one-hit wonder.
Not that. That's not what this is. All right, let's get into the top 25 here that the committee released yesterday. They had some course correction rolling. They moved Alabama ahead of Notre Dame. 1 through 4 stays the same. 1 through 4 changes because A&M loses. Georgia goes into the 3rd spot. Roland, are you good with the way they seeded 1 through, let's say, at least 15, leaving Texas out, leaving Miami possibly out on the bubble? Are you good with the way you're seeing 1 through 15, or should have some of those teams have kind of made it in already?
I'm good with 1 through 12. Honestly, you can argue about the ratings within the 1 through 12 and who should be higher or lower, and who should have a bye or not. I'm fine with it. You can talk about Ole Miss moving down, with the Florida State argument, you lose a key piece to your program. Are you the same thing?
They have the precedent already with you lose Jordan Travis, you went out of the playoff, you lose your head coach, you go down.
Yeah, exactly. So, you can make that argument on Ole Miss. But I'm fine with the 12. I need to do some more research on Vanderbilt and Texas, because I just, quick thought I would want to put Vanderbilt above Texas just because of the 3 losses. And I hadn't really been very convinced with Texas right when
What about the head-to-head? Texas played Vanderbilt and beat them.
Yeah, and so you have that argument for sure.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to usurp anything that I can say. But as far as putting Texas into the playoff, which I know where this is going, and I'll just start it off, I don't think you can do that. I respect the win against Texas A&M for sure, but I do feel this is a little too late. You have 3 losses. I hear Sark, and I respect what he's doing, although I do think it kind of reeks a little bit of desperation. You can see it in his eyes.
Campaign.
But I do respect what he's doing and all the points that he's bringing up, even going so far as to start poking holes in other teams' resumes. I do respect that level of pettiness. But they have the 3 losses. Not going to knock them for the Ohio State loss. But I just was not very convinced that Texas was a top 12 team at any point in this season, other than the first week of the season when they were a preseason top 5. Other than that, I've been waiting for them to prove it to me. I was almost in there when they had that game against Georgia. I think that was in Athens, so it's a tough spot, but they got smacked in that game, and I was hoping to see a little bit more competitiveness there. You can talk about the OT games that they've had, the close losses or close wins, rather, W's or W's, but you almost lost to Mississippi State. Mississippi State's not a very good team. You had to go to overtime to beat them.
Yeah.
So I just don't think there's a very strong argument to put them into the top 12.
What about the argument that says, let's say that they have 3 top 10 wins and nobody else in the country has that? Does that matter at all to you? I mean, I know we played some of the teams pretty damn close that we shouldn't have, but no one else can say 3 top 10 wins this season. Does that help or hurt? Like, what do you think?
I think it definitely helps. I'm not going to knock them for having those victories, but the only thing I could say is, well, they're in the SEC, so automatically off the rip, they're going to have all these games lined up. Or you can be, I think Texas A&M on the flip side kind of avoided a lot of the big guys in the SEC, but that's just how college football is today with these super conferences.
Yes.
You can have teams that have these years where you skip out on all the big dogs and you don't play Bama, Georgia, Florida, like Texas. Texas had a crazy schedule, and I hear all that. But again, I just would have liked to see some more competitiveness in certain spots.
I'll ask you this. Let's say Texas doesn't play Ohio State week 1, and instead we schedule Rice like we used to. We're probably beating Rice, and we only have 2 losses, right? Would you think that we're a top 12 team then, or would we still be on the bubble?
I mean, you guys would probably be a top 12 team then, for sure.
Right.
But that's just not what happened.
So now, does that de-incentivize teams like the Big Ten versus SEC playing each other week 1?
Yeah, and that's where we were going anyways, though, with these super conferences. When you get 10 to 15 teams in a conference eventually, and this is where it's going. And yes, I think Texas missing the playoff would be one of the bigger arguments for starting to do this, and just play within your conference and really either just schedule cupcakes or eventually just play your division and then go to the playoffs. But that's what we were afraid of happening anyways.
That's my big worry, Roland, because before we had the playoffs, before we had the BCS, we had where it was a situation where multiple teams could claim a national championship because we didn't have alignment. We didn't have this setup. And so do we get to a point where maybe the SEC and the Big Ten say, hey, I'm taking my ball and we're going home and we're just going to set up our own conference and our own thing, our own championship at the end of the year?
I mean, I don't think it would go that far, but I do think
you're getting there before
some version of that, unless 47, right? That's the number president we're on. Unless he signs that executive order and we get 16 teams, I don't know what we're going to do here. But
personally, I would like to extend it to 24. It's probably not going to happen this year. Obviously, we have so much already set, but it should be 24 at this point.
Yeah, I think we're fine with 12. Honestly, I like that they've shifted it to where it's, and we can talk about the ACC. Where now it's the top 5 or the highest rated or what is it, the 4 highest rated Power 5 conferences get in automatically.
Yeah.
And Virginia, if they win the ACC, they could be a conference winner that doesn't get into the playoff. And then you start talking about Miami not making it. Maybe if Duke ends up winning, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of scenarios.
And there's some projections where Tulane, James Madison make it in, and it's like those guys are way at the back of the top 25. And there's a shot that they can make it in as a large bid. Ben, do you think that there's any concern for Texas not making it in here where there's kind of change into how the playoff gets structured?
Yeah, I like the Longhorns too, so thanks. And I think that there's no doubt that they get in after looking at this layout. This is the first I see of this. Texas Tech is playing BYU, and a 2-loss Big 12 team is not going to get in over Texas.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're all Texas Tech fans on Saturday, pretty much.
If Texas Tech beats BYU, Miami jumps up, Texas jumps up, and they're in.
If that's a 27-24 game, though, if it's a close game, I'm not dropping BYU over Texas if I'm the committee. I'm not doing that. Why are you going to penalize? It's just, I get it. Idle teams can move up, but why are you going to on the flip side? Why are you going to penalize BYU for making their conference championship game? What if the Big 12 just didn't have a conference championship game?
I would say put Miami in and put BYU out if they lose on Saturday, because Miami's currently not in.
Isn't Miami? Oh, well,
no, that's not how the playoff works.
You're right. Yeah. I'm just looking at it.
So that's where I would flip. And let's get to that. Let's get to that topic. In fact, this is the big topic of the bubble teams. These are the 2 bubble teams. Notre Dame is currently in as it stands in the bracket. But Miami, with the same schedule, Ron, they both have 2 losses. Miami's first one out. But here's the kicker, Ron. They played each other week 1, and Miami won.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah,
about
I mean,
this? Should Miami
clearly
get in, or
have,
should Notre Dame get in because they're the hotter team at the moment?
You clearly got to put the Canes in here. I mean, that's just they have the same record. They played head to head. The Canes won. Canes are on fire right now. I don't know why you want to have Notre Dame in there so bad. This is all Canes.
Big
Canes
money.
should be there easily. And then if you guys mentioned the Texas Tech and BYU game, if BYU goes down, and do the Canes in Texas have games this week?
No, we're sitting. We're just sitting at home.
Everybody's just chilling, right? Yeah.
That's so stupid. The ACC has Duke, who's like 7-5 in their big ACC title game against Virginia. So here's a chance where you can put Miami in that game, show off one more time how good they were. They just blew the doors off of Pitt, who was ranked 22, by the way, a common opponent like Notre Dame here. So I think they've done enough stylistically to get in. Roland and Ben. Ben, what do you think? Does that week 1 matchup mean anything to you? Or do you think, we value the whole season and it doesn't matter that they beat them outright?
Yeah, I mean, I value it, but Notre Dame did look like, a freight train after that, for the rest of the season. Heisman candidate, running back, probably not going to be a finalist, but definitely up there. And, a really good head coach who a lot of people, thought might get poached for one of those bigger jobs as well. I think he's going to end up in the NFL eventually when he does leave Notre Dame. But, I mean, I'm not a fan of Carson Beck, so I don't think that, I think we've seen what happens to him in the really big games.
Yep.
The beginning of the season, he was rolling. He looked really good. And then, he started looking kind of just mediocre, showing, shades of those Georgia days, throwing interceptions kind of later in the season. But for me, I think that Notre Dame is the better team than Miami. So I think Notre Dame should get in.
Yeah, so you're saying let's dismiss week 1. It's just week 1 anyway. And Notre Dame has just shown too much at this point.
They have the exact same record?
Yes, same record, 2 losses, both of them. And they have common opponents at the moment.
I would need to gather the data to make that decision then.
Roland, what about you? Week 1, does this matter? Is it just week 1 and we can't put too much? It was a close game. It wasn't like, let's say, Miami just really blew the doors off of them.
It matters. It matters. They played the game. It's just like Texas wouldn't be crying right now. They beat Ohio State week 1.
Yeah.
But they played. And the same thing with Notre Dame and Miami. Although I do take Ben's point into consideration that Notre Dame has played very good football since that point. And, you can't really, knock what they've done since then. But no, I put Miami in because they beat Notre Dame head to head. The common opponents, they've looked pretty good. Had a tough, the Louisville loss doesn't look very good. The at SMU in overtime, tough loss, especially with the way SMU went out there to end the season. But I mean, I don't know. Notre Dame, you look at their schedule, they played USC and Pitt. Those are their 2 big wins.
Yeah.
Cool. Put Miami in. They beat them head to head and they had better wins. Notre Dame hasn't beat anybody. They lost to the 2 teams that they played. Miami and Texas A&M. So what happened in the beginning of the season?
And the Notre Dame game was the Texas A&M game was at home, Roland, too.
Yeah, good point. It's right in the eyes of Jesus.
A&M was 7, right? Notre Dame was 10, but I mean, regardless, it's still a loss. And this is crazy, but Texas hosts A&M and they beat A&M, right? So I mean, why not? Why does that not hold it more weight? But
Notre Dame needs to join a conference. I know why they do it, but because they're automatically into the playoffs every year, no matter what they do under this new format. But
in basketball, Notre Dame's in a conference, so that needs to
force their hand, bro. They need to force their hand.
They were
in basketball. They participate in the ACC, right?
Yeah, ACC.
Put them in the ACC. Make the ACC a little bit more.
They were in the
legitimate.
championship last year. Maybe that's just why they won.
They go to the ACC. They're still going to be the favorites to win the ACC, but they really do need to put themselves in the conference.
Yeah.
They also have a common opponent in Pitt. Notre Dame beat Pitt 37-15. Miami beat them 38-7.
Yeah, but it's really 31-7 if you take Sark's analysis into it, because that they're running up the score.
Sark's doing everything he can to see. I appreciate
Sark has been in the film room, huh?
Yeah.
Shit.
Last one to talk about.
He did his
boys,
homework, dude. Oh,
and we'll get out of here after this. Alabama's playing Georgia in the SEC game. Kirby is 1-0 all time in rematches against Alabama in the SEC game. They're probably going to be favored. We've seen Alabama kind of not, they kind of struggled. They're not as tough as they used to be, at least. If they lose this game, they would have 3 losses. As it currently sits, they are 9th. Ben, with a loss here, could Alabama be out of the playoff, or are we just not going to punish them for making their title game? You're muted.
Yeah, my bad. But that's another one, dude, where, I mean, the losses, they have to mean something. I get that, if it was up to them, they'd probably decide, no, someone take her place in this championship game. That way they don't risk the loss. But, hey, that's the way the cards were dealt. Maybe they weren't booking Ohio State week 1 or Michigan week 1. But here you go. You're going to get Georgia twice. We know what usually happens, when Kirby Smart gets a rematch, like you mentioned. So, big Georgia fan this weekend. Like, I want to create as much chaos as possible, bro. I want these fucking committee members to really have to strap in and earn the money, bro. Honestly.
They're gonna do the dumb thing. The committee's gonna mess it up.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm for sure. I'm a homer for Texas. I've been pretty, straight up and blunt with Arch, but they'd be dumb to just leave that much money off the table.
They
like
fucking
if there's
look good
these other
too,
teams
bro.
that kind of just crack open the door and give you that peak of light, I think that they're gonna take it and run with it, bro.
I kind of see themselves setting it up, right? Like real dramatic. Hey, let's leave Texas and Miami at like 12 and 13. But then when Selection Sunday comes around, it's like, and Texas is in. Texas is in. The committee's changed. And all Texas is in. You will see Arch Manning in his football playoff.
I want a coin flip.
Yeah, like you could see that shit too. And why would you not want fucking Arch Manning in the college football playoff his first year with the Texans? I mean, with the Longhorns, bro. Like,
fair enough.
I mean, come on. And then they have the backup to say it like on the statistics side, right, and all that. Like, well, they have big wins against these, and the Ohio State game week 1 wasn't a blowout, and it was
14-7.
We played them closer than any other team has played them.
Did Texas play Bama this year?
No.
Okay. I mean, 3 losses and 3 losses. Then you just got to go look at strength of schedule, bro.
We were the only ones with 3 top 10 wins when we played the teams.
So,
and at the time that A&M was 3, there was actual people voting them number 1 in the AP poll. So.
Yeah, that's a legit win. I mean, beating A&M for sure is legit. I mean, that's little brother, so they got something over A&M, but they're the number 3 team in the country. Alabama's resume is pretty good. I mean, got Georgia at Georgia in Athens.
Yeah, they won.
That's a big victory. Beat Vanderbilt, beat Missouri in Missouri, routed Tennessee, took care of LSU, lost to Oklahoma.
Tennessee's
obviously
bad. Missouri's not good either.
I'm just at the time they were ranked 14 and 11.
They were, yeah.
So I mean, that's worth something. If they lose a game, depending how they lose, I'm open for an argument to putting them out. But I'm just not a big fan of punishing people for making their conference championship.
Who were Bama's losses to?
They lost to Florida State
and Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma, 23-21 to Oklahoma.
Florida State's a pretty bad loss too.
It is a bad loss in retrospect.
It's like a Florida loss. It's probably at the same, in the same level. I think
they were ranked 9th.
Florida just beat Florida State. And Florida State had their head coach.
But Florida was already down in the dumps.
Their head coach, which is crazy.
Florida was already down in the dumps when Texas lost to them, though.
Yeah,
I just don't like. You gotta just look it by the fucking eye test, right? Like I understand teams lose games, but I mean in the NFL you have fucking teams. You have the Panthers beating who the hell did they beat? They were supposed to lose to, like the Rams. I mean it just happens, bro. The season is so long.
I appreciate you saying that. That's
you got to
true.
give a little bit of take and just see like Texas isn't a bad team. Like you can't just use the whole Manning argument as to why people want him in there. Like they're a good football team. They've developed over the year and over the season. Like you see the maturity of all the players. The defense is solid as hell, like super good. We were watching the game and Marquise and Ben was like, "This is a fucking Heisman hopeful." They made him look like shit, So I don't know, man. I just really want Texas in, I guess.
Yeah, I just have a hard time putting them in. Overtime with Kentucky, 16-13. Overtime to Mississippi State. Got smacked by Georgia. I mean, I don't know.
It is.
I hear the argument. I get the eye test.
The thing is, I think you're just judging Texas on their losses, and you're not really judging.
What do you mean? I'm giving
wins.
them their wins too. I'm
No,
judging
I'm
them on their
saying,
wins.
like,
I just mentioned 2 wins.
No, but if you look at the
38-35 in overtime and 16-13 in overtime against Mississippi State and Kentucky.
But you're kind
Those
of
are
referencing
those are
like
good.
they shouldn't have even been.
Those might as well be losses to me. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
And this is exactly the whole point.
That's what you're looking at, though, when you're judging a body of work. I mean, did those games not go down that way?
This is exactly the point, because Roland has a great point on why Texas shouldn't be in, but then Justin has a great point why they should be in. It's just
I want to hear the great point
right down
for why they should be in. The great point.
Well, the only team with 3 top 10 wins. I mean, that's
most importantly.
But that's by virtue. That's by virtue of being in the conference, though, too.
Well,
yeah.
Every
exactly.
other SEC team was also in the conference.
I know. I'm just saying.
Do that.
But more importantly, as a fan,
at the time they have three top 15 victories or 4. Right, that's just as good as Texas State.
Here's the real concern for me as a fan of college football. If they keep us out for that reason, it just decentivizes week 1 games where you get a Texas and Ohio State. Why would we ever schedule that again? We'll just say we're going to play our conference and that's it. And then you just get crappy regular season games because of that. Instead, you can have the opportunity to set the precedent where you're going to say, hey, we're going to reward the teams that went out and played tougher schedules. And we're going to say, you know what, your schedule's similar enough. We're going to put this team in because, where they were bold. And they went and played the number 1 team. They went and played a top 5 team early on. That's my big concern is let's not hurt these teams that are willing to say, hey, we're going to give entertainment to the fans. But that's my bigger concern.
But my thing is we're not with Texas. Like, that's not the case, in my opinion. I'm just looking at just removing Ohio State. Hey, they played them close, and no other team came as close as Texas did to Ohio State. I'm going to give them that trophy that they're looking for right there. But if you take that away, even looking at that, it's not an impressive body of work to me.
But it's enough to get you in the playoff, right?
Well, I'm not right now. Not right now.
If we don't play Ohio State, like you said, it's enough to get us in.
I get it. Also, the other thing too that we really got to be honest with ourselves with, and I say ourselves, but just looking at it, look at Texas. Like, Texas should not be talking like this. They should not be saying we're not going to go play Ohio State. Texas is. We're talking about premier,
and they're
premier. We're talking about premier programs in the country. You talk about the University of Texas. You talk about Texas football, and for them to be talking, it's loser mentality at the end of the day.
But remember, they're not saying this because Sark came out.
I don't know. They're fixing the system. Look,
they're taking a stand.
The only reason why they're taking a stand right now is because it's working against them.
Valiant effort.
If it was the other way around, they're not saying anything. You got to win the games that you.
Let's be clear though. Sark is not saying we're backing down. He's saying we're still playing Ohio State. We're still going to host them. And we're still going to host Michigan. So he didn't back down at all.
I just don't think it's a good look at the end of the day. I respect the campaigning, but
that's my campaign. That's not Sark's necessarily.
No, I'm talking about Sark and with the whole deal that he's doing. As a coach of the University of Texas, I don't think it's necessarily the best look at the end of the day. When you're just talking about prestige of a program, to be talking like this, a team that's won a national championship hasn't done anything real. If you want to talk, you were asking all these questions earlier about Ole Miss. What have they done since then? What has Texas done since they won a national championship? Squat.
2 straight playoff semifinals. I mean, it's hard. Only one team wins again.
My thing on your point is just this, like, super quick. If you're Sark and you're saying, "Oh, we're gonna go play the top teams and this and this and that," you're also taking a risk in losing.
Yeah, and then don't be on the back end.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying, Ron. You don't incentivize them in the future after we play those 2 teams, Ohio State, Michigan. We're just.
But nobody told Sark. But nobody told Sark, "Hey, go schedule the hardest fucking schedule."
Yeah, I just think it's
in the nation. He wanted to do it. He took the risk and he took the L. So now you have to just swallow that.
Especially again, no one feel. I don't feel bad for Texas at all. They're one of the programs that have a wealth of riches. They have everything. They have an endless bag of money, and no one should feel bad for them at all.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes there. Well, boys, that was a great conversation. I love college football. As you can tell, it gets passionate in here. We'll see what happens this week with the championship games. Texas Tech, BYU. Alabama, Georgia. The ACC, what happens there? They potentially could just be left out altogether. And there's a scenario where you can get Ohio State with a bye, Indiana with a bye, and maybe even Oregon getting a bye. 3 Big Ten byes in the first week. So that there's a possibility that could happen as well. We'll see what the committee does after Selection Sunday and these championship games. But I love it, man. I love this talk. I really do.
Who do we got winning the Natty real quick? Just fire it off.
I mean, you got to think it's Ohio
Fire it off.
State
Fire it off.
at this point.
Fire it off.
I mean, they're just they got it all going. The most points Ohio State's defense allowed all season long was 16 points. They gave up less than 100 points on defense total. The way that they, were finishing games early, by the third quarter, they were pulling their starters. They ran significantly less amount of plays with their starters than any other team has in college football because
so Buckeyes.
they've done that.
Buckeyes for Justin.
Buckeyes, yeah. Sorry, I'm long-winded.
You're good.
Yeah,
You're
and you
good.
got somewhere to be, so you need to cut down a bit.
It's passion here for college football, boys. It really is for me. I love this.
I'll go Georgia just based off the way the bracket is going. If they're going to get an Ole Miss team without their head coach, and then the winner of Indiana and probably Notre Dame, give me Georgia.
I got Ohio State. Same reasons Justin mentioned. There's a powerhouse right now, and I would want to say Georgia. I don't trust their offense at the end of the day to string together enough consistent play to win.
It's a lot of quick game in that offense, Roland, and it's like if you can figure the quick game out, it gets stopped. It really could get stopped. And you've seen teams that Georgia kind of had to beat in the end. It got a little close because of that. So we'll see. I think you're right on that one. You're right on the button.
Dreamer pick, obviously the Horns, but Ohio State. Realistically, I know the brackets. I know that's why. Dream. I know the brackets. The brackets tougher on their side, but if they get through that, it's like they're just gonna coast to the Natties. So.
I would like to see Texas Tech make a little run. I'd like to see them win that first game. That'd be
I don't
nice.
think they're as good as they're ranked, honestly.
I think they're one of the 5 teams or one of the 3 or 4 teams that has a chance of winning the national championship.
Their defense is
elite. Their roster. Yeah,
their defensive line is maybe number 1 in the country.
I don't want them to win because
that's a quarterback for sure. Can you trust their quarterback? But they got some pieces. They did a really good job with their roster construction in the offseason. They're one of the teams that just dumped a bunch of money into the roster. Ended up working out for them. I'd like to see
that bag's getting big, man. That bag is getting big at Texas Tech. So
I just don't want them to win because then you're gonna see shots of Mahomes on the sideline and shit.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, that was a good one. Anything else y'all want to cover before we end it here? Anything else? It was
just
last UFC of the year.
Last UFC, Marab versus Jan. That should be a good one. Jan versus Van. Do you think Van beats?
That's a fun fight, man.
It's gonna be so. No, isn't who's
Pantoja? Pantoja versus Van. I got that wrong. Yeah,
no, you're good.
So it's Marab Jan, Pantoja Van, Moreno Tara, and Henry Cejudo, Peyton Talbot, and Jan Blachowicz is back too. So
so is Moreno. No, isn't Brandon Moreno fighting?
Brandon Moreno.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I like Pantoja and Marab for sure.
Yeah, Marab going for the 4th title defense in the calendar year. That'll be quite a feat.
I love that dude. He's active as hell, man.
Yeah.
All right, we got Roland. I mean, Justin has somewhere to be, so.
I do, boys. Thank you for everything. There's no exit video thanks to Restream messing up, but thanks for being with us.